everybody. This is Bob Wilson saying Happy New Year from the most exciting spot in the world, Times Square, New York, with a special show brought to you by Scripto, the world's largest makers of fine writing instruments, the pens and pencils used by millions of Americans. Tonight, as the festive crowds swarm through Times Square, we invite you to join us as Scripto celebrates New Year's by the lighting of Scripto's gigantic new spectacular sign, the brightest, most brilliant light Times Square has ever seen, the brightest light on the gay white way. One thing I can guarantee, if your voice is off-key, it's not going to be noticed tonight. The golden ball of which I spoke is actually a giant sphere of white and blue lights, some 5 or 6 feet in diameter. Every New Year's Eve since 1906, it has journeyed from the top of the tower above the Times building down to the roof of the building. The drop symbolizes the expiration of the old year. When the golden globe reaches the bottom, a burst of light flares in the sky, and a mighty cheer from the hundreds of thousands heralds the arrival of the new year. Now, to tell you about the spectacular new Scripto Times Square sign and its famous man-made lightning, here is Cy Harris.
Yes, friends, this brilliant, beautiful new Scripto sign is the brightest display ever to be put on. Watch now, while we follow the huge 50-foot bolt of man-made lightning that flashes across Times Square every 15 seconds. This is the most powerful single electrical flash Broadway has ever seen. And here is the Scripto pencil. It costs only 29 cents, and yet it gives you the smoothest, most dependable writing you've ever known. It's a real beauty, isn't it? The Scripto pencil is self-sharpening. A single twist renews the point, and its quality and performance are fully guaranteed. So join the millions of Americans who use Scripto to get writing performance that equals the most expensive pencil. And now, let's get ready to say hello to the new year with the crowds out there in Times Square.
The crowd is orderly. Fewer police have been assigned to the area tonight, although traffic has been halted from 42nd Street to 47th, rerouted around this parcel of humanity. Plate glass windows have been barricaded. 8-foot-high plywood walls have been erected around the glass recruiting booth of the Armed Forces, where 7th Avenue and Broadway meet. And pretty soon, the big hand will top the little one, and everyone here seems to think this is the most significant meeting of hands this year. Confetti is tumbling from hotel windows. The streamers are almost lost in the fall of snow. Thousands have come from the New York area, but they are joined by other thousands from every state and many nations. This, for many of them, is a sentimental journey, a trip that has become one of the great American traditions, a trip we're happy to have you make by television on this winter's night. This Times Square drama on New Year's Eve has a cast of hundreds of thousands, the color and festivity of the greatest show on earth, and it's one of the greatest free shows in the world. All you need to get in is a lot of spirit, a little lung power, and a love of crowds. Father Time strides along, and it'll be less than a minute until 1953 in Times Square and the Eastern Time Zone. The heart of one of the greatest cities in the world is a good place to watch an end and a beginning. This happy crowd has come to watch seems to grow by the minute. The golden ball will shortly begin its descent from the wintry sky, for the old year is ending. It's been said that time and space are the two most important things in the world. This space we view, this ribbon of white drawn in the night, represents the most expensive space in the world. And this time we honor will live at midnight for a moment only, just long enough to bridge from yesterday to tomorrow. And it's 1953, a new year is born. From Times Square in New York, a happy new year to you all. Perhaps it's a good omen, ladies and gentlemen, for even as the snow is falling here in Times Square in New York, there's a bright moon up above. You can see the clouds swirling past it. Perhaps it means there are good things in store for all of us in 1953. The bubbling lights that circle Times Square with news, 365 nights a year, paused long enough tonight to tell us, well, right now it says snow and rain. I'm glad all the rest of the nation is having pleasant weather for this New Year's Eve, but it certainly is a little chilly up here in New York City. Horns and claxons aplenty, clappers, bells, gaily colored paper hats, umbrellas, balloons. Incidentally, there are several ambulances standing by at strategic points just in case someone happens to get hurt. Perhaps you remember a year ago tonight at the advent of 1952, the weather along the eastern seaboard was mild, spring-like, in marked contrast to the penetrating, snow-laden wind blowing tonight. And the crowd in front of the Astor roof, however, seems just as happy, just as much in a mood for celebration. Many are waving, and a few are weaving. Some of the lights seem to have grown dim just here at the beginning of the new year, perhaps pointing out the big sign of 1953. And, of course, that bright sign of Scripto you just saw on the screen. Incidentally, this is the beginning of the sign of Scripto. This is the first night that it has been lighted up. "1953 is a little better than 3 minutes old right now. Everyone seems to be waving at you from NBC in New York. Press photographers are nearby, and perhaps you saw that flash on your screen. Now, while things are starting to get really exciting here in Times Square, well, what comes now? I don't know how you're going to celebrate, but here in New York, about 3,500 extra licenses for all-night service at bars have been issued. That's about a third of the bars in New York. I understand those extra licenses cost $10. It means New York bars may stay open past the 4 a.m. closing time, the usual 4 a.m. closing time. Broadway theaters up and down the Great White Way are having midnight shows. Nightclubs are booked solidly here in the big town. About $15 a couple will get you into some of the smaller places, some of the lesser places. If you go to what's classified as a middle-class place, it may cost you between $35 and $50 per couple. It may go as high as $75 and up in some of the real swank New York nighteries. And, of course, there are midnight watches in many churches. Now I'd like you to meet a man who's seen 17 or 18 New Year's Eves on Times Square. He's Mr. Bob Christenberry, president of the Astor Hotel, on whose chilly marquee we are standing right now. The Astor Hotel, which is sometimes called the Village of Times Square. He's also chairman of the New York State Boxing Commission. Tell me, Bob, is there anything different about this New Year's Eve here on New York's Village Green?
Yes, it proves one thing to me conclusively, and that is that the people of New York are not going to be deprived of celebrating the New Year's because of a little snow, sleet, or rain. They're here by thousands tonight.
Well, how about the size of the crowd? How does it compare with previous years?
Well, it's slightly off, and of course you can attribute that to the weather. But they are certainly more enthusiastic than any crowd I've ever seen before.
Do there seem to be as many servicemen, teenagers?
No, I missed the servicemen of 4 or 5 years ago. But of course you and I know where they are. They're in Korea, they're in Germany, and the other far-flung places of the world where we have our troops.
What percentage of the crowd would you say are native New Yorkers down here, Bob?
I would say that 95% of them are native New Yorkers. Remember, Times Square is New York's Village Green.
Bob Christenberry, have you made a New Year's resolution?
I certainly have.
What is it?
I've made a resolution that I am going to have greater affection for every man, woman, and child in New York than I've ever had before, because when they show their love and affection for this city of ours, as they have here tonight, brother, I want to be one of them.
Say, Bob, I'd like you to meet Douglas Lee, right over here. He's the man, Bob Christenberry, Douglas Lee, who designed this new Scripto sign down here. Doug, how did you get the inspiration for that?
The inspiration for that was the Scripto to work it out in script.
Oh, yes.
Actually, as is, in lights. You'll be interested to know that 50 million lumen flash, I don't know whether it blanks out the TV screen or not. but it is the brightest light on Broadway and would easily light a little city in its flash.
Wonderful. And here's Charlie Lovejoy, who is the Executive Vice President of Scripto Incorporated from Atlanta, GA. What do you think they're doing down in Atlanta right now, Charlie?
I think they're thrilled at this demonstration here on Broadway. It's a wonderful sight. I'm sure they're all taking it with great pleasure.
Here's my old friend Ben Brower. Shake hands with Charlie Lovejoy.
Ben, it's nice to see you.
And say hello to everybody, will you, Ben?
I tell you, Bob, I've covered this Times Square show many years, and this is one of the most vigorous vocal crowds I've ever heard.
Happy New Year. So we've ushered in the new year here in New York's Times Square. And now as we enter the new year of 1953, Scripto, the world's largest makers of the best in pens and pencils, wishes you, one and all, the best of everything in 1953. And to all of you from NBC, peace and prosperity in 53. This is Bob Wilson saying good night and Happy New Year.